If you're a guy who's looking to get in good shape because you want to feel more confident in your clothes or just feel better in general, but you feel conflicted with all the information that's on the internet and you need something that fits your busy lifestyle, keep watching this video. And if it's your first time to the channel and you don't know who I am, my name is Christian. I'm the owner of the Unit Gym, which is just outside of Manchester City Centre. And I'm an online coach where I help guys drop fat, build muscle, and get them in incredible shape so they can feel more confident, all without having to live in the gym. Growing up, fitness was a massive part of my life, and I've been training for over 16 years. I had a massive passion for bodybuilding and powerlifting. I've competed in a few bodybuilding shows, numerous powerlifting competitions, and throughout my whole journey, I've made a lot of mistakes because when you're learning something new, you're going to be trying different things, and as you try different things, you're going to receive feedback on what works, what doesn't work. And as you can see on the screen here, I got a bit too fat when I was trying to gain muscle, and I've made other mistakes as well, but throughout all of the different seasons in my life and the different things I've been through, I've been able to figure out the best thing for me personally anyway, that allows me to get in great shape, maintain great shape, and also balance other responsibilities without it affecting my body in a bad way. Yeah, so throughout my whole journey, I've learned so many different lessons when it comes to getting in shape and maintaining my shape. So in this video, I'm gonna give you my 3 biggest tips on how you can build muscle and lose fat the right way. The system I'm going to show you in this video has been used on clients like Liam, Mark, and Scott, who you can see on the screen here. So if you want a simple system on how to lose body fat and build muscle, keep watching the rest of this video. So step 1, my biggest recommendation is setting a time frame for how long you want to lose weight for. I think this is really important because a lot of people don't have a start date and an end date, and then because they haven't got a clear time frame, there's no urgency. So it's the classic, I'll start again next Monday, and they've been trying to diet for a whole year and there's never an end to it. You want to create a timeline where I want to start dieting on this date here, and this is the date that I'm going to finish. That creates that urgency so you can just get shit done and get it finished. Otherwise, you'll be just dragging your ass throughout the whole diet and never getting it done. So just set a time frame from when you're going to start, when you're going to finish. I suggest choosing anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks for your diet. I think that's a sweet spot for most people. Once you've got your start date, you'll need your starting body weight. So all you need to do is weigh yourself, and that's going to be your start weight. I'm going to talk to you about what weight, how to calculate what weight you should be at the end of your diet. I'll be giving you some principles around that later in the video. If you're like the majority of men and you haven't really trained or you've been inconsistent, the likelihood is you're storing the majority of your body fat on your stomach and your chest area, and you probably haven't got a ton of muscle around your arms. It's a classic sort of skinny fat sort of physique. Now, you actually want to lose weight in your diet. The reason for this is, if you're carrying too much body fat and you try to get bigger, you're just going to accumulate more body fat on the body fat you have already. And because you've been inconsistent with the gym, or you're going to be new to the gym, you'll be able to build some muscle while still losing fat, but you want the scale weight to come down. So that's why I suggest within your diet, you actually lose weight on the scale. So you reduce some of that body fat around the stomach area, around the chest area, whilst trying to build muscle as well through strength training. So now you've got your starting body weight, you need to figure out how much weight you need to lose on a week-to-week basis. A really good rule of thumb is 0.5% to 1% of your total body weight per week. So if I weigh 200 pounds, that will be 1 to 2 pounds per week. So in a 12-week period, I'll be looking to lose anywhere from 12 to 24 pounds of body fat, which is roughly just under 1 stone to under 2 stone in 12 weeks. So now you've got a clear strategy, you've got a roadmap of how long you should be doing this for, how much weight you're looking to lose, you've got a start weight, some rough finishing weights that you need to be, and you've got a good idea of where you'll be going. Now, if you're worried that you're going to be losing muscle during this diet because the number on the scale is going down, if you strength train correctly and you've got the right training program, you will not lose any muscle if you follow things correctly. Because if you're strength training and you're eating enough protein, what you'll be losing is purely body fat. I'll be talking to you about the training side of things a little bit later in the video, so keep watching. But firstly, we need to figure out how many calories you need to eat so you can start losing fat. So the screen that you're looking at here is my own personalized calorie calculator. So if you actually want to download a free copy of this and figure out your own calories so you can start losing fat, go to the link in the description and you can download it for free. And in less than 2 minutes, you can figure out the exact amount of food you need to eat to start losing fat and getting in great shape. So first of all you need to do is put in your body weight in pounds, put in your height in centimeters, and then your age, dead simple. And then you're gonna scroll to the right hand side And then you're going to see something called the activity multiplier. This is basically the amount of steps you do on a day-to-day basis. So you need to know a rough average, doesn't need to be exact, how many steps you need to do on a day-to-day basis. So I do between 7.5 to 10,000 steps a day. And then it's going to give you what your maintenance calories are. Your maintenance calories are the amount of calories you need to eat just to maintain your body weight. So if I ate 3,000 calories a day, I would maintain my current body weight. But we want to lose weight, we want to lose fat, don't we? So what we need to do now is go on the deficit selector. So it's just the button underneath, and then you can choose anywhere from 5% to 25% of a deficit, so you can figure out the amount of calories you need. But if it's a smaller deficit, it means that you'll lose weight slower. If it's a larger deficit, it means you'll lose weight quicker. There's no right or wrong. I recommend anywhere from 10 to 20% to start off with, but let's go with 20 to start off with. So once you do that, it will then tell you the exact amount of calories you need. So for me to start losing fat, I need to eat roughly 2,460 calories per week. If I wanted to lose fat quicker, I just press 25% deficit and it drops the calories down. So you don't need to work anything out. You don't need to write anything down. It does it for you. So 25% deficit, 2,300 calories. The next thing we need to do is we need to figure out how much protein to have. So if you've watched other videos, you'll know you need 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So go on the percentage and go to the percentage that will give you the closest number to 200. So it's already done it for me. 200 grams of protein, perfect. With your fat, you want to eat 0.3 grams of fat per pound of body weight. So to figure that out, just go on your calculator on your phone, type in 0.3, times it by your body weight. So for me, it's 60 grams of fat. So I can go to 25% as a percentage, and then make sure you can fill the carbs up with the remaining percentage. So press 40, takes it to 100, and there are your macros. You got your calories, your protein, your fats, and your carbs. So now you know how many calories and macros you need to eat to start losing weight. The next thing you need to do is start tracking them calories and macros. I recommend something like MyFitnessPal. Any sort of tracking app that will track your calories and macros, use. MyFitnessPal is the one I use. And if you're thinking, I don't really want to track my calories, the thing is, if you've tried other diets in the past and they haven't worked for you, highly recommend tracking your calories and weighing your food so you can understand what actual portion control looks like. Because the chances are, or it's not even if the chances are, you would have been eating too much food in the past if you tried other diets and it didn't work. So just use a calorie tracking app and some weighing scales to start understanding portion control so you can make sure that you are 100% hitting the calorie targets that you're meant to be hitting. For time's sake, I'm not going to show you how to use MyFitnessPal today, but I've got other videos showing you how to use it. So if you want to see a video, just drop me a message and I'll send it over to you. Now, I will give you some rules of thumb that you can follow when it comes to choosing foods and what foods to have. Essentially, no foods are off the table when it comes to losing weight. As long as you can control the calories, you can track it, and you're having a specific portion, you can have whatever you want. So if you want a chocolate bar, totally fine, just track it into MyFitnessPal and track the calories. But as a general rule of thumb, I would say for 80% of your food, try and opt for single ingredient food. What is single ingredient food? Single ingredient food is basically what it says in the title. It's foods with one ingredient in it. So for example, if you look at a chicken breast and you look at the back of the packet, it just says 100% chicken breast. It hasn't got a ton of other ingredients within the chicken. But if you look at things like chocolate and crisps and you look at the ingredients, it's got loads of ingredients in there. I'm not saying them things are bad. Obviously, eating too much processed food isn't healthy, but I'll tell you what the main problem is with processed foods. It's not like if you eat a packet of crisp or a chocolate bar that you'll just gain weight. It doesn't work like that. It's the amount of calories that influence if you gain weight or lose weight. The main issue with processed foods are the amount of calories that are in such a small portion of processed foods is ridiculously high. So I bet you didn't know this. Do you know the garlic dip from Domino's? The large garlic dip is nearly, I think it's about 800 calories. Just the garlic dip, not even the pizza. That's pretty depressing. So this is where you need to have more awareness of what calories are in certain foods so you can plan what to have properly. So if you do want to have more processed stuff, you know how to account for it properly. But as a rule of thumb, go for single ingredient food. So in your meals, things like chicken breast, turkey breast, mincemeat, any sort of fish, potatoes, vegetables, fruits, pastas, porridge oats, Greek yogurt, them sort of foods, because single ingredient foods don't have as many calories as processed foods. So you can eat quite a lot of single ingredient foods and not consume a lot of calories. But the key thing is tracking them, but there's some rules of thumb to go off. So that first section covers your nutrition for your fat loss. The next thing is your training, because let's be honest, you don't want to just lose weight. Because if you just lose weight, that means you might just lose muscle. And a lot of time, people don't just want to lose weight, they want to have more definition, they want to have less fat around the belly, less fat around the chest, more definition in the pecs, more size in their arms. So for that to happen, it just doesn't come from nutrition, it comes from weight training. So we're going to cover training now, because if you don't weight train, you're just going to be skinny fat. And listen, if you're happy with that, crack on. But most people aren't happy with being skinny fat. They want to have less body fat, but they want to have more overall muscle definition. But the good news is you don't need to live in the gym. All you need to do is 2 to 4 weight training sessions per week, and that'll be well enough to transform your body. 2 to 4 sessions per week it's well enough for 99% of people. If you start doing 5 sessions a week plus, you're now creeping into like pro bodybuilding sort of like circles, and most people aren't trying to be a pro bodybuilder. 2 to 4 sessions a week is all you need. So for example, if there's a week where you can't do 4 sessions, you haven't failed, you haven't like gone backwards, just do 2 instead. Because once you know how to set up an effective training program, 2 sessions will still give you really good results. So you can vary it. If you've got a busy week, do 2 sessions. If you've got less of a busy week, you can do 3 or 4 sessions. The key thing is being consistent and not worrying about being perfect. Like I just said, if it's a week where you can't get in 4 times, it's not like you lose all your gains, just do 2 sessions instead of 4. The training system I use in my program with my clients is called the Upper Body Blueprint. This is where we do 3 sessions in a week. 2 of them sessions are focused on upper body days, and then 1 of the sessions are focused on leg days. The reason why legs are only trained once is because the majority of guys I work with are more concerned about their upper body than their legs, but in the same sense, they still don't want chicken legs, because no one wants chicken legs. But doing legs once per week will at least give you some growth, but the majority of your efforts are now focused on your upper body. So I'm gonna give you the general system I use for not all my clients, but clients who can only train 3 days a week and want to focus on upper body more than lower body. So how do I know 2 to 4 sessions a week is well enough for most people? It's because when it comes to building muscle, there's a set of underlying principles and science that describes the muscle building process and how it all works. And I'm going to go over them principles now so you can understand them, because once you understand the principles, you can apply them in so many different contexts. So for example, if you know you can only do 2 sessions a week, but you're not well informed or educated when it comes to training, but you think you have to do 4 to see results, in your head you might think, well, it's pointless, I can't stick to the gym 4 times a week, so I'm not going. But once you know the principles and the science behind it, you can apply it in so many different ways and make it work for you in your lifestyle. So 2 sessions a week, believe it or not, can get a lot of people great results. So principle number 1 when it comes to building muscle is frequency. Frequency refers to how many times you train a muscle in that given week. So for example, if you've got a frequency of training a muscle 1 time per week, that means you'll train chest on a Monday, maybe back on a Tuesday, and then you won't train it again till the following Monday or Tuesday. But for most people, 99% of people, they need to train a muscle 2 times per week. So the frequency is each muscle group 2 times per week. So muscle can only grow when protein synthesis is activated, and protein synthesis is only activated when you train a muscle, and it only lasts as well between 24 to 48 hours typically. So let's say you train chest on Monday. That means by Wednesday, it's finished its growing. It's not going to grow any further past Wednesday. So that's why training a muscle once a week doesn't make sense, because you're then having to wait Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday again to train it. But if you train a muscle 2 times a week, like chest on Monday, chest on Thursday, you're going to see much better results, because as soon as the chest finishes growing on Wednesday, you train it again on the Thursday, and you're going to activate protein synthesis twice. The second principle is the amount of sets that you do for each muscle group. So typically for the majority of people, anywhere from 3 up to 10 working sets is pretty decent for the majority of people. There's nuance in that though. Sometimes the bigger you are, the more stronger you are. You might need less than that, because when you lift heavier weights, it's just more fatiguing and you stimulate a lot of muscle growth within a heavy set compared to someone who is lifting a lot lighter. So for example, if you get someone who's benching, let's say 160, 180 kg for a set of 8, the amount of growth and damage they'll incur in one set is a lot different to someone who's benching 50 kg for a set of 8. So sometimes if you're smaller and weaker, you may need more. Sometimes if you're bigger and larger, you may need less, but it's all person dependent on like your recovery as well. But as a starting range, 3 to 10 working sets per week. So that means if you're training your chest on a Monday and Thursday, you could do 5 working sets on Monday, 5 working sets on Thursday, and that's a good range to start off with. If you feel recovered for the following week, you can add an extra set on the Monday and Thursday the following week if you do feel recovered. That's why a lot of people overkill it when they do chest on Monday and then they do flat bench press for 3 sets, and then incline bench press for 3 sets, then decline bench press for 3 sets, then cable flies for 3 sets. Like if you're doing more than 10 working sets in one session, you're probably not training hard enough. And a lot of the time, if you are doing more than that, you're not really gonna get any much more muscle growth, because usually 10 sets is usually the upper limit of how much muscle you're gonna build within that session, because it just doesn't work on a linear curve where the more you do, the more muscle growth you get. It just doesn't work like that. The first few sets, you'll get the majority of your muscle growth, but then after that, it sort of tops out. So if you keep doing more and more, it's almost like cooking a chicken in an oven for longer than it needs. So if a chicken needs 200 degrees for 40 minutes, but then you cook it at 210 degrees for 60 minutes, you know, that chicken's not gonna taste any nicer. It's already primed at 40 minutes. You don't need to cook it any longer. It's just gonna be worse, if anything. Same for muscle growth. There's a top end, and usually anything more than 10 sets in a session is just too much. So the next principle is intensity. In the second principle, I mentioned about training hard enough. Now, what I mean by training hard enough is if you're a person and you've been out of the gym for a while and you've been quite inconsistent, you want to make sure when you first get back into the gym, that first week of training, you're not absolutely obliterating yourself, because if you've been out of the gym for a while, it's not going to take much to start building muscle compared to someone who's well versed and been going a while. So that first week back in the gym, you want to use a system called reps in reserve. All this basically means is how many reps you have left in the tank when you finish a set. So if I say to you, I want you to have 2 reps left in reserve, when you do a set of 8, let's say on the bench press, when you get to that set of 8, you want to be able to feel like you could do another 2 reps if you had to. So all you do in that first week of training back is choose a weight for each exercise that gives you roughly 2 reps in reserve when you finish that set. If you finish a set and you feel like you could do another 3, 4, 5 reps, you've gone too light. If you finish a set and you're absolutely at failure, you've probably gone too heavy for that first week back. I will keep 2 reps left in the bag for your first week back when it comes to training. And then after that first week, you can either train to failure or at the very most, keep 2 reps left in the tank. That's the sweet spot. If you're finishing sets and you always feel like you can do 3 extra reps plus, you're probably not training hard enough and you're probably leaving gains on the table. A really simple test to see if you are training hard enough, probably get a spotter for this as well, just in case. Go on the leg press and then just keep repping out the leg press till the point where the spotter has to physically help you up. That's when you know you're at true failure. And then ask yourself, when did I think I was at failure during that set? And if it was like 10 reps before you actually reached failure, you know your perception of hard is a little bit skewed. So I would say push yourself to that limit to figure out where that limit is, and then just always stay anywhere from hitting failure to 2 reps left in reserve, and you can pretty much guarantee that's where the best progress will be made. So once you've completed your first week of training, you want to make sure that you recorded down all of the weights that you've lifted for each exercise, including the sets and reps that you did with that particular weight. The reason why this is important is you need to make sure that you're progressing on a week-to-week basis with your training, because if you're just lifting the same weight with the same sets and reps week in, week out, why would your body grow? You're not giving it a reason to grow after that first week or so. So for your body to carry on building muscle and getting stronger and getting more jacked, you need to apply a term called progressive overload. Progressive overload basically means that training needs to get gradually harder over time for your body to keep adapting to it and to keep growing. Because like I just said, if you're lifting 60 kg on week 1 for 3 sets of 8, and then week 52 at the end of the year, you're still doing 60 kg for 3 sets of 8, why would your body carry on growing muscle? You haven't given it a reason to adapt. You need to give it a reason to adapt So that's where you apply progressive overload. But then the question is, okay, how much weight do I increase by on a week-to-week basis? How do I actually progressively overload? I'll talk to you about that now. You've got a couple of ways you can apply a progressive overload to your exercises. So I'll give you some rules of thumb. You can either increase weight more than what you did last week, or you can do the same weight as last week but do an extra rep or two, or you can do the same weight and reps that you did last week, but you just do an extra set. Let me go in order and explain each one. So if you decide to lift more weight than you did previously, you need to make sure you're adding the right amount of weight, because sometimes people get too far ahead of themselves and they'll add too much weight to the bar. How much is too much weight to the bar? So for example, let's say you're lifting 60 kg for 3 sets of 8. If you just jump up to 70, it's probably too much of a big jump. A rule of thumb is you want to lift 2 to 5% more than the previous week. So if you can't figure out 2 to 5% of whatever you're lifting, just go on Google and type in 5% of whatever the weight you're lifting, and that's the amount you're going to increase it by for the following session. So 60 kg, let's say you are lifting 60 kilos, 5% of 60 is 3, so you're going to increase weight by 3 kg. Now, there isn't 3 kilo plates in the gym, but you can increase it by 2.5 by adding a 1.25 kg plate each side. And just put your ego to a side. If you don't want to add 1.25 kilo plates each side, it's just your ego. Just put that to a side because no one else cares. That small little jump up in weight makes a big difference over time, because you know, if you continuously add 1.25 kilos each week, 2.5 kilos total, in a month, that's 10 kg. In 2 months, that's 20 kilos. So if you do that slowly over time, you'll see progress. Now, the next thing is adding reps. So what you could do is, instead of adding weight, if there's a week where you feel like you can't quite add weight, you can go up by reps. So you could do the same weight that you did last week, 60 kilos for 3 sets of 8. But this week you could try 1 set of 9 and then 2 sets of 8. So you've increased the reps on just 1 set. You don't need to try and increase the reps across all 3 sets. It can just be for 1 set. The last one, probably the one I use the least as well, if I'm being honest. I try to prioritize the first 2. The last one is increasing sets. So if you did 3 sets of 8 on 60 kg, the following week you could try 4 sets of 8 on 60 kilos. The problem with adding too many sets over time is it gets to a point where just doing 6, 7, 8 sets on one exercise, you end up like getting diminishing returns from it. So usually I recommend that you either add weight or add reps. So now you know all of the principles of when it comes to building muscle, you can create a program that's designed around your lifestyle in terms of how many days you can realistically train each week, rather than thinking that you need to train 5 days a week or 6 days a week or even 4 days a week. And if you can't meet that criteria, it's not going to work for you. You now know that isn't the case. If you want a free training sample plan that includes all of these principles, but also shows you the exercises you need to do, the sets and reps, go to the description, press the link in the description, and you can download that plan and start following it and start seeing results. But as a quick overview, if you've got all these principles in place, and let's say you can only train 2 times per week, the best program for a 2-day per week training plan is full body 2 times per week. Full body because you can only train 2 times per week. So if you do full body, you're hitting the frequency, you hit each muscle 2 times per week. The sets per muscle, I'd probably focus on 2 to 3 sets per muscle group across them sessions. So if you're doing, let's say for example, bench press on full body A, on your full body A session, you could do 3 sets on Monday, and then your full body B session that you do on Thursday, you could do another 3 sets on maybe incline dumbbell press. So I would do 2 full body workouts in the week. That will cover the frequency. The sets per muscle, remember we said anywhere from 3 to 10 sets, just divide that across the 2 sessions. The intensity, remember anywhere from hitting failure to keeping 2 reps left in reserve. And then the last one, progressive overload. So keep a record of everything that you're lifting each week, trying to improve that by either adding weight or adding reps. If you do that for 2 days per week, I guarantee you will look in sick shape, especially if you follow the nutrition as well. You'll be able to lose fat, build muscle, all without having to spend hours a week in the gym. So I honestly think the 2 days per week will literally can a lot of people's excuses with not being able to make it to the gym, because 2 hours per week, there might not even be hour sessions, there might be 45 minutes. Everyone's got 45 minutes 2 times per week that they can do in the gym. So now you can get in shape without thinking it's not possible for you. But if you want to skip all of the guesswork I've also got another freebie to give away. I've got a 12-week roadmap showing you how to get your body transformation progress underway, where I will give you exactly everything you need. A free sample training program, the exact timelines you need, how to work out your calories, how to use MyFitnessPals, meal plan examples as well. So if you want your free 12-week body transformation series so you can start getting in sick shape, go to the link in the description and give that a download and you can start implementing it. So guys, if you like the video, drop a like, leave us a comment and give us a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Boom.